Hi guys, welcome back. So we're going to go over the homework, which was more working with stock splits. Number 9 says, yesterday Tensor Incorporated executed a 2-for-1 split. Jamie was holding 500 shares of stock before the split, and each was worth $34.12. What was the total value of her shares before the split? So before, she had 500 shares at $34.12. 500 times 34.12 is $17,060. Okay, straightforward. Remember, if we want to find out total value, we multiply the number of shares by the price. How many shares did she hold after the split? Well, we know this was a traditional split because it's a 2-for-1. It's not a 1-for-2. 1-for-2 would have been a reverse split. 2-for-1 is a traditional split. In a traditional split, the number of shares increases. So we're going to multiply by that 2-for-1. So we have 500 shares that Jamie had to start with. We're multiplying by the 2/1, which gives us 1,000 shares. The number of shares she had just doubled. And that makes sense. The number of shares is supposed to go up. So it doubled. 2-for-1. So in number C, letter C, sorry. Remember, in a traditional split, as the share price, or the number of shares goes up, the price drops by the reciprocal. Okay, so if this doubles, this is going to be halved. So her current price, or price before the split, was $34.12. If we cut that in half, her new price is now $17.06. So that's the price after the split. Number of shares after the split, price after the split. That leads us to question D. What was the total value of Jamie's shares after the split? So after the split, she had 1,000 shares at $17.06 per share. If we multiply that out, it comes out to $17,060. Notice, guys, her value did not change, which it's not supposed to. That's her market cap before and the market cap after. The value stayed the same, just as it should. All right, so let's look at number 10. On May 30th, Universe Incorporated announced a 5-for-2 stock split. Before the split, the corporation had 340 million shares outstanding with a market value of $73.25 per share. So that's the per share price. That's how many shares she had, or the company had. Okay, so it's a 5-for-2 split. That's a traditional split. So we know that how many shares were outstanding after the split. Before the split, there were 340 million. We're going to multiply that times 5/2 because remember, the shares in a traditional increase. All right, so 340 times 5 divided by 2 gives us 850 million shares. Don't forget that M, because million is a lot different from 850 shares. We want to include that million. All right, what was the post-split price per share? Price per share. Now we know in a traditional split, we have to take the split and use the reciprocal, turn it on its head, right? Because the price drops. So the price was $73.25. We multiply it by the reciprocal, and it comes out to $29.30. So indeed, the price did drop from $73.25 before to $29.30 after. Then they want to make sure that this was a monetary non-event. How do we do that? We make sure that the price, the total value before is the same as the total value after. Another name for the total value is the market cap. So if we look at the prices and the shares before, it was 340 million shares priced at $73.25. If we multiply that out, it comes out to 24.905 billion shares. Wow, that's a whole lot of shares. That's what that looks like if we write it all the way out. On the other side, 850 million shares times $29.30, because remember what happened, the number of shares increased, but the price per share decreased. When we multiply that out, we get the same thing, 24.905 billion shares. So we can see the value has not changed. The market cap is exactly the same as it was before. All right. Number 11 gets a little bit more interesting because we're going to have to use a little algebra here. 2 days ago, Lisa owned Y number of shares of that stock. What is it? Postero, I guess. Sounds right. Yesterday, the corporation instituted a 3-for-2 stock split. Once again, it's a traditional split. Before the split, each share was worth X dollars. So this is the price before, and this is the number of shares before. So how many shares did she hold after the split? Well, we know that in a traditional split, the shares are multiplied by the stock split ratio. So we multiply the number of shares times the 3 divided by 2. So that's all we can do. We can't say how many shares numerically it is because we don't know how many shares she had before. So that's all we can do. That's our final answer. 3 over 2 times y, number of shares. We know that 3 over 2 is going to make the number of shares increase. B, what was the price per share? Now we're looking at price after the split. In a traditional split, we know that the price is going to be multiplied by the reciprocal. Okay, the reciprocal of 3 over 2, which is 2/3. Okay, we flip it on its head. We multiply by the reciprocal of the stock split ratio. And our price per share was X dollars. We don't know exactly how much it is, but we do know that the price was X. So we're going to multiply that price times the reciprocal, 2/3 X. And that's all we can do. Except, I'm sorry, that shouldn't be shares. We got to change that. That should be dollars, right? Okay. Last one was show that the split was a monetary non-event. So we multiplied before X times Y because it's the number of shares times the price. And on the other side, we multiply what we had afterwards. 3/2 times 2/3, we know reciprocals, when you multiply them, it turns out to 1. So the coefficients of both those become 1. What are we left with? Just the X times Y. So our market cap stays the same. What we had before and what we had after is exactly the same. That's your homework, guys. If you have any questions, email me or bring them up in class. See you later.